Hi, I'm Aaron, 34, and 2 months ago I made the biggest financial mistake of my life. I tried to do something nice for my parents. See, I grew up in the same worn-down house my entire childhood, leaky roof, sagging floors, electrical wiring that looked like it was braided by raccoons. The works, my parents always talked about fixing it up one day. But that day never came. When I finally started making real money in my contracting business, I figured it was my turn to give back. So I surprised them with a full $150,000 renovation, top to bottom, new kitchen, new deck, new AC, new roof. The house went from featured on a home renovation show to featured on a code violations notice, back to Pinterest catalog. And for one glorious week, they acted proud of me. My dad even said thank you, without clearing his throat first like the words were fighting back. But then my wife's parents, my in-laws, ran into trouble. Their basement flooded after a pipe burst, and insurance only covered half. I offered to help them get the rest repaired, nothing fancy, just enough so their home didn't turn into a bacteria theme park. And that's when my parents lost their minds. It started with a single text from my mom. So, are we not the priority anymore? I stared at my phone thinking, what? You got $150,000 in upgrades, they're just getting a dry basement and functioning plumbing. But apparently, in my family, math and logic are optional. Within 24 hours, my mom had summoned the full council of aunts, uncles, cousins, and whoever else she could emotionally weaponize, and all of them had the same message. You're disrespecting your parents. Little did I know, that was only the beginning. The next morning, I woke up to a wall of text messages that looked like a group chat had been set on fire and everyone was trying to escape by typing .my, and Linda said I'd broken my mother's heart. My Uncle Ron said I'd lost sight of family values. My cousin Tammy, who hasn't spoken to me in 3 years because I didn't hire her boyfriend to do my taxes, suddenly cared very much about my moral compass. And my mom, she sent one line that hit me right in the irritation gland. We didn't raise you to prioritize strangers. Strangers. My in-laws, the people who treat me better than my own blood, were strangers. Now listen, I'm a patient guy. I rebuilt their entire home without complaining once, even when my dad insisted on helping. By standing in doorways and naming tools incorrectly, I can handle pressure. But this was nonsense. So I drove over there to talk face to face, hoping maybe it was all a misunderstanding. It wasn't. The moment I stepped inside, my mom crossed her arms like she was auditioning for a soap opera. So, she said, are we just second-class parents to you now? Dad chimed in from his recliner, not looking away from his football game. Never thought we'd be competing with your wife's family for affection. Competing. As if this was the Parent Olympics and I had refused to award them the gold medal. I explained calmly that helping my in-laws didn't erase everything I'd done for them, that both families could coexist without scoreboards or ranking systems. Mom didn't budge. Oh, Aaron, you're so naive. When you choose to help them, you choose to not help us. What else? She asked. Are you planning to give them? I told her the truth. Just the basement repairs. Her eyes widened like I'd confessed to a felony. A basement? You redid our entire house. Are they getting special treatment now? I blinked. Mom, you literally got $150,000 worth of special treatment. Her voice dropped. That was different. It wasn't, but at that point, logic was basically a banned substance in that house. And just when I thought the conversation couldn't possibly get worse, Dad hit mute on the TV. That was the sign, the omen, the signal the real storm was coming. He leaned forward, face serious, like he was about to deliver a family prophecy. Aaron, he said, your loyalty is slipping. And that was when I realized this wasn't about money. This was about ownership. Dad only mutes the TV for 2 things, tornado warnings and dramatic monologues. And since the sky was clear, I braced myself. Aaron, he said, steepling his fingers like he was negotiating a hostage situation. You need to understand that once you marry, your wife's family will try to take you away from us. I blinked. Dad, no one is taking me anywhere. He nodded slowly, like a wise elder in a fantasy novel. That's what they all say before the in-laws sink their claws in. My mom chimed in. First it's the basement, next thing you know, you'll be paying their mortgage, their car, their vacations. She said vacations, like it was a gateway drug. I'm standing there, still covered in drywall dust from patching their own new hallway. The hallway they forced me to redo 3 times because my mom wanted a warmer beige. And suddenly I'm being interrogated like a flight risk. You don't see what's happening, Dad continued. They're using you. I almost laughed. Using me? The people who send me dinner leftovers just because I said I liked the sauce? Meanwhile, my parents once charged me rent at 17 because I ate too loudly. But I didn't argue. I said I needed some air and stepped outside. I barely made it to my truck before my phone buzzed. It was my sister, Rachel. Now, Rachel doesn't call unless someone is A. in the hospital, B. going to jail, or C. publicly disgracing the family. She skipped greeting entirely. What did you do? I sighed. I offered to help my in-laws. She gasped like I told her I'd sold our parents on eBay. Are you insane? You know Mom sees that as favoritism. Favoritism? Rachel, I renovated their whole house. That was different, she said, apparently reading directly from Mom's script. That was for family. Your in-laws aren't real family. Something inside me snapped. Rachel, my in-laws treat me better than any of you do. She went silent, and then she said the sentence that detonated everything. Well, maybe you should have renovated our place instead of Mom and Dad's. It would have actually gone to someone who appreciates you. Oh, there it was. The truth. It wasn't just jealousy. It wasn't just entitlement. It was competition. A full-blown, Olympic-level, multi-family rivalry I never signed up for. And that was the exact moment I realized the renovation had been a mistake. Because the more I gave my parents, the more they expected, and helping anyone else meant betrayal. By the time I got home, my wife was on the couch looking pale. They called me, she whispered. My heart dropped. What did they tell you? She swallowed hard. Your mom said I'm manipulating you, and using your money to elevate my family above your own. I sat down slowly, and then she added one more thing. They said if you go through with fixing my parents' basement, they're cutting contact. That's when I stood up, grabbed my keys, and decided enough was enough. If they wanted drama, they were about to get it. I stormed back to my truck so fast I didn't even grab a jacket. I drove straight to my parents' house with that mix of anger and determination that only shows up when you've been pushed exactly 3 inches past your limit. They were both on the couch when I walked in, like they'd been rehearsing their lines. Mom sat up straighter. Aaron, we hoped you'd come to your senses. Dad nodded solemnly. You can still undo this. Undo what, exactly? Helping my wife's family not live in a biohazard zone. I took a deep breath. Let me be very clear. I'm helping my in-laws. Their basement is flooded. They need it fixed. I'm doing it. End of discussion. Mom blinked slowly, like I just informed her I was joining the circus. You're choosing them over us. No, I said. I'm choosing to not be insane. Wrong answer. Mom stood up like she'd been launched from a spring. I gave you life, I raised you, and this is how you repay me? Repay her? For what? The childhood where my allowance was $0 and my birthday gifts were usually do one extra chore without complaining. But fine, I stayed calm. Mom, you both got a fully remodeled home. You got the biggest gift I've ever given anyone. Why isn't that enough? It's not about the gift, she snapped. It's about what it represents. Dad chimed in again with his philosopher tone. When a man chooses his wife's family, he loses his own. I rubbed my eyes. Dad, I didn't choose my wife's family. I married my wife. They come with the package. That's how marriage works. He shook his head like I was spiritually lost. Your priorities have shifted. That's when Mom pulled out her final weapon, tears. Except, and I'll die on this hill, they were absolutely fake. Not a single one rolled down her face. She just widened her eyes and shimmered them like she was trying to summon moisture. You know what your sister said? She whispered dramatically. She said you're abandoning us? There it was again, the collective delusion. I opened my mouth to respond, but Dad beat me to it. If you go through with helping her parents, we won't be speaking to you. Boom, the ultimatum. I stood there frozen, not because I was intimidated, but because I genuinely couldn't believe they were willing to blow up our relationship over someone else's basement. Fine, I said finally. You do what you need to do. I grabbed my coat from the entryway. And I'll do what I need to do. Mom inhaled sharply. Aaron, don't you dare walk out. But I did. I slammed the door so hard a picture fell off the wall. I drove home feeling strangely lighter. But that feeling evaporated the second I saw my wife standing in the driveway, phone in hand, horrified expression on her face. They escalated, she said. She handed me the phone. There it was. A Facebook post from my mother. Pray for us. Our son has turned his back on his family. He has been stolen by his wife's manipulative parents. We raised him better. And the comments, worse. People I barely knew were calling my wife a gold digger, saying I was ungrateful, saying blood is thicker than water. But the very last comment, the one from my sister, that one hit differently. He chose the wrong family. I lowered the phone. That's when my wife said the thing that triggered the next explosion. There's something else. Your in-laws saw the post. Oh no. Oh yes, she said. And they want a conversation. My stomach dropped through the floor, because my in-laws are the gentle, conflict-averse, let's talk it out over tea kind of people, but they are also the type who only need to be pushed once before they go full parental nuclear. We walked inside to find them already sitting at our kitchen table with the exact posture of people trying very hard not to look furious. My father-in-law folded his hands carefully. Aaron, son, we saw the post. My mother-in-law nodded, lips pressed tightly together. We didn't want to get involved, but your parents publicly accusing us of manipulating you? That crosses the line. I sighed and sat down. I know, I'm sorry, they're emotional. My mother-in-law raised an eyebrow. Emotional? Aaron, they're making it sound like we're running a cult out of our basement. My father-in-law leaned forward, which, ironically, is the part of our home currently full of mold, mildew, and sewage backup. Exactly. My wife said. That's why Aaron offered to help. And your parents think it's some kind of betrayal. Then my father-in-law asked the question nobody had dared say out loud. Do they want us to live in a swamp? I didn't answer because honestly, at that moment, I wasn't sure. My mother-in-law shook her head, exasperated. We didn't ask for money, we didn't want anything, but we're not going to sit here and be attacked because you're trying to help both families. My father-in-law looked me dead in the eye. We don't want to cause a rift, but if your parents keep dragging us into their drama, we will defend ourselves. I swallowed. Because this was spiraling, and fast. Before I could respond, my phone buzzed on the counter. It was my mom again. Another text, another guilt grenade. We didn't raise you to betray your mother. Fix this before it's too late. My wife looked over my shoulder. They're not stopping. No, they weren't. Because 30 seconds later, my sister sent a follow-up. Since you want to help strangers, don't expect to be included in future family decisions. Then another. And don't come crying to us when they replace us. Replace them? Replace them with who? My in-laws, who once refused to let me pay for a $30 dinner because you already do so much. I put the phone down. I'm done, I said quietly. My father-in-law nodded. We support you, but you need to set boundaries. He was right. So the next day, I sent one single group text to my entire family. It said, I'm helping both sides of my family. If you think that's betrayal, that's your issue, not mine. I will not be manipulated, guilt-tripped, or forced to choose. Love isn't a competition. I hit send. I expected some yelling, maybe a few angry calls. What I did not expect was what my mom did next. She posted the group text on Facebook, with the caption, Look what my ungrateful son sent us. And then it went viral. Within hours, cousins, church friends, my childhood piano teacher, and even random strangers were weighing in. And then someone commented something that sent my wife over the edge. Maybe his wife's family is offering him something his own parents didn't. My wife slammed her phone down. No, I'm done being polite. Your mother is about to learn what boundaries actually look like. I blinked. What are you going to do? She grabbed her coat. Something I should have done months ago. My wife was already halfway out the door before I caught up with her. Where are we going? I asked. She didn't even look back. To your parents' house. Oh, see, my wife is the calm one, the rational one, the let's wait 24 hours and breathe. 1.so when she decides to confront someone? That means the spiritual line has been crossed. We arrived at my parents' place, and my mom opened the door with the exact expression of someone who'd already written her Oscar acceptance speech for Most Wronged Mother. Oh, she said flatly. You decided to show your face. My wife stepped past me, straight into the living room, calm, controlled, deadly. Cynthia, she said, we need to talk. My mom blinked. People never used her first name unless there was trouble. Dad muted the TV. Again. The second omen. My wife didn't raise her voice. She didn't pace. She didn't cry. She just stood there, staring at them like she was about to deliver the State of the Union address. You crossed a line posting Aaron's private messages online, she said. And you crossed an even bigger one dragging my family into it. My mom scoffed. Oh, please, you manipulated our son first. My wife didn't blink. I didn't manipulate anyone. Your son is allowed to care about more than one set of parents. Mom folded her arms. He should care about the people who raised him. My wife nodded. He does, that's why he gave you a 6-figure renovation. Mom opened her mouth, but my wife kept going. But helping my parents doesn't erase anything he did for you. You're treating his generosity like ownership. My dad cut in. He should prioritize his blood. My wife turned to him. Then why does his blood attack him for helping someone? Why does his blood compete with people who've done nothing wrong? Why does his blood expect him to choose? My parents didn't respond. So my wife continued, voice steady as a laser. You are punishing Aaron for not making you the center of every decision in his life. That's not love, that's control. My mom's eyes narrowed. Aaron, are you really going to let her speak to us like this? Yep, I said, loud, clear. Maybe the first time I'd ever said it with confidence. Dad stood up, chest puffed. I don't like your tone. My wife stared him down. And we don't like your behavior. My mom gasped, hand to chest like she'd been shot. You come into our home and disrespect us? No, my wife said. I'm setting boundaries. And then she delivered the finishing blow. If you can't treat Aaron with kindness, the same kindness he shows you, then you won't see him, not until you apologize. Silence. Thick enough to spread on toast. My dad's jaw clenched. My mom looked like she was calculating how many Facebook sympathy posts she'd need to recover from this humiliation. You're choosing them, Mom whispered. No, I said. I'm choosing sanity. My wife took my hand. We're done here. As we left, my mom called after us, voice trembling with manufactured heartbreak. You're making a mistake. If you leave now, don't expect us to come running back. We got in the car. My wife buckled her seatbelt. That went well, she said, but it didn't, because the next morning, my parents escalated again. This time, they brought reinforcements. I woke up the next morning to the sound of my phone vibrating nonstop on the nightstand. At first, I thought it was just a group chat meltdown. Nope. It was my boss. I answered groggily. Hey, what's up? Aaron, he sighed. I hate to even bring this up, but did you really cut your parents out of your life and tell them you never want to see them again? I sat up so fast I almost pulled a muscle. What? No, absolutely not. Who told you that? He hesitated. Your mother called the office. Oh, for the love of... She told us she's been trying to reach you for 2 days because she's afraid you're being controlled by your wife and her parents. She said they've pulled you away from your real family. I closed my eyes. She did not. She also said she's concerned you might not be emotionally stable right now. She asked if we could check on you. Unbelievable. My boss lowered his voice. I'm not getting involved in your personal life, but Aaron, you need to handle this, whatever this is. After I hung up, my wife found me pacing the hallway like a man waiting on lab results. What happened? I told her. She pinched the bridge of her nose. She called your job? To report emotional kidnapping? Apparently. But this was only level 1 of the chaos ladder. Because when I checked my phone, I had 17 texts from my aunt, 9 missed calls from my parents, 6 voicemails from family friends, 2 messages from cousins I forgot existed, a Facebook tag, and a post titled, When Your Child Turns on You. And then there was the message from my sister. Mom and Dad are devastated, and honestly, I don't blame them. You should apologize before this gets worse. Before this gets worse, ma'am, this was DEFCON level meltdown. I stepped outside to clear my head, only to freeze. Because standing on my driveway was my church's pastor. My pastor, the man who barely remembers my birthday, the man I haven't seen outside of Sunday service in years. He smiled awkwardly. Morning, Aaron, your mother reached out. She said you're going through a family crisis. My jaw dropped so far it nearly rolled into the street. She asked me to stop by and pray with you. She's very concerned you're being influenced by outsiders. Outsiders. Aka my wife and her parents. Aka the most normal humans I know. I took a slow breath. Pastor, I appreciate you coming, but with all due respect, this is not a church emergency. He nodded, clearly uncomfortable. I had a feeling, still. Your mother insisted. Of course she did. Because why quietly process conflict when you can declare spiritual warfare? While I was awkwardly explaining to my pastor that I had not, in fact, joined a cult, my wife came outside. Her eyes widened. Pastor Michael? He nodded politely. She looked at me. They're recruiting clergy now? I nodded back. Oh yes, we've entered the biblical phase. After the pastor left, I checked my phone again. Another message from my mom. If you insist on helping strangers, we will have no choice but to take legal steps to protect what's left of this family. Legal steps? Legal steps? I laughed. Actually laughed. Because what were they going to do? File a lawsuit against kindness? But they weren't done. 2 hours later, my sister called. Aaron, don't freak out, but Mom talked to an attorney. I froze mid-step. What kind of attorney? A family attorney. She wants to discuss guardianship. Guardianship of who? I yelled. You. She wants guardianship of me? I'm 34. Well, she whispered. She told the lawyer she thinks you're being manipulated, and she said you might not be able to make stable decisions on your own. My wife looked at me, horrified. They're trying to declare you incompetent? I nodded numbly. Apparently. That was it. That was the breaking point. The line across the sand. The moment the last switch flipped in my brain. I'm done, I said. We're done. They wanted escalation? Oh, I was about to give them escalation. I don't know what happens in your brain when someone tells you. Your mother is trying to get legal guardianship over you. But in mine, something ancient and done finally snapped. I turned to my wife. Get the laptop. She blinked. Why? I'm showing my parents what consequences look like. For 34 years, they operated under one rule. They could say anything, cross any line, and I'd take it. Not anymore. I opened a blank email. Formal. Adult, undeniable. Subject, boundaries. I wrote. Mom, Dad, you contacted my job, my pastor, extended family, and even a lawyer about my marriage, so here are the rules. No contacting my employer, clergy, relatives, or any third party about me again. No attorneys, pastors, or long-lost cousins dragged into your drama. If you pursue guardianship or any legal claim over me, I'll respond legally. No contacting me for 90 days, by phone, text, email, Facebook, TikTok, or pastor delivery service. If you violate this, the cutoff becomes permanent. This isn't punishment. It's protection, for my marriage, my work, and my sanity. I read it to my wife. She nodded. Send it. I did, then blocked every number, email, and account they had. I braced for rage. Instead, silence. The plotting kind. 3 days later, my sister called my wife. She's sobbing, says she lost her son. My wife answered. She didn't lose her son, she lost control. Day 7, a letter arrived, handwritten, tear-stained, and actually apologetic. And why Mom wrote. We crossed every line because we were scared of losing you. We were wrong. If you're willing, we want to start over, with boundaries, and respect for your marriage. My dad added. You've become a better man than I ever taught you to be. I just stared at the letter, stunned. And my wife touched my shoulder. What do you want to do? I want the rules to be mine, I said. But maybe we give them a peaceful chance. A month later, things still aren't perfect, but the rules exist, and so does the distance. Their house is still the nicest on the block. My in-laws' basement is fixed. And for the first time in my life, I'm not torn between families. I'm standing on my own, and that's enough.